Hey travelers, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm diving into a wild story about finding cheap and flexible airfare for my 3-month European backpacking trip back in 1999. In this video, I'll share how a seemingly impossible airfare solution by the name of Airhitch promised affordable travel and taught me a valuable lesson in flexibility and risk-taking. If you're on a budget and looking for a good travel story, well, that may not be possible in 2024. Stay tuned. I think the story is a little funny and definitely shows the lengths I was willing to go to back in 1999 to find a cheap and flexible way to get to Europe. Airfare can be one of the largest single expenses for any trip, especially an extended journey through Europe. How do you minimize the cost and maintain flexibility without compromising your travel plans? That's a huge question many Eurotrippers have today, but let me tell you how I solved this issue for my first trip to Europe. While planning my trip, I found that airfare would be one of my largest single expenses, roughly around $1,200 at the time for a round-trip airfare, and that would be a huge chunk of my budget. I needed to decrease that so that the $3,500 I had saved for the trip would actually be spent traveling through Europe, not trying to get to Europe. Little did I know that a piece of blue paper was about to parachute in, promising to cushion my financial fall. When the voucher from Airhitch landed in my mailbox, it looked suspiciously like a child's art project, not my ticket to Europe. Let's back up a little bit. Using online forums like the now long-gone Eurotrip.com, I came across a company called Airhitch that offered unbelievably cheap and flexible airfare to Europe. This was perfect because I didn't want to be locked into a specific city and date for my return flight because I just didn't know where I'd be because I didn't want to set a rigid itinerary. I wanted to go with the flow and be flexible while I was traveling around Europe for the summer. Airhitch's prices and flexibility seemed too good to be true. For $165 US each way, I could show up at any East Coast US airport and wait for a flight with an open seat going to any Western European airport. And then on the way back, same thing, reverse. Just show up to any airport in Western Europe with a seat on one of their flights, and I would have a return trip to the East Coast of the US. So for $330 total, Airhitch allowed me to fly to Europe and back with open-ended and open destination tickets. My friends and even my parents questioned the legitimacy of this company, but I was determined to take the risk because I was on such a tight budget. 3 weeks later, I received an envelope with my Airhitch voucher, a blue piece of paper with a hand-drawn logo of an airplane that looked very much like a kindergartner had drawn it. My friends laughed, but I had no choice at this point but to hope for the best. To use the Airhitch voucher, I had to call their offices to get a list of flights for the following week. Each flight was graded from A to F based on seat availability and my chances of getting on that flight to Europe. 2 weeks before my friends were leaving for Europe, I started to call the Airhitch company to see when my best chance of flying out from the East Coast and going to Europe would be. My best chance was flying to Madrid from New York City 1 week before my friends were to leave. I hadn't planned on going to Madrid, but this was my best opportunity to get on a flight and get to Europe. I packed my backpack, said goodbye to my parents and girlfriend, and promised my friends I'd find them when they arrived in Rome a week and a half later. Then I hopped on an 8-hour train to New York City. When I arrived at JFK Airport, I handed the ticket agent my blue Airhitch voucher. To my relief, she recognized it and accepted it. And an hour later, I found myself seated on a plane bound for Madrid. As the plane taxied toward the runway, the full weight of my journey settled in, and I realized that taking this risk panned out. It was very scary. I didn't realize how anxious or stressed I was leading up to this moment, but now everything was starting to fall into place. I didn't plan on going to Madrid, but now here I was on my way to Spain, and I was just super excited, and I was really looking forward to landing and seeing what adventures lay before me. I realized that the quest was not just about navigating to and around Europe, but it would become an odyssey into the uncharted territories of my own resilience. And taking a chance on this Airhitch voucher really showed how resilient I could be in the face of uncertainty. And then the power on the plane went out. Finding cheap and flexible airfare with Airhitch was a gamble that paid off. It taught me an invaluable lesson about flexibility, risk, and unpredictable nature of travel. Even with tight budgets and unconventional methods, you can turn your travel dreams into reality. Embrace the adventure and let the journey shape your experiences. Don't be naive and fall for scams, but look for legitimate opportunities to save money and stretch your budget. There's almost always an alternative to the traditional and expensive norm, whether that be cheaper airfare, alternatives to expensive hotels such as hostels and traditional bed and breakfasts or pensiones or guest houses, whether that be local eateries as opposed to the we speak English and have English menus restaurants. And these alternatives are what helped me stretch my budget and turn a 2-week vacation into a 3-month-long adventure that shaped my perspective on travel in general and changed the trajectory of my life. Whether it's navigating a new city, finding budget accommodations, or making the most out of your travel experience, I am here to provide you with the tips and insights you're looking for. I want you to learn from my mistakes and be inspired by my stories so you can travel Europe affordably and with confidence. Share your experience and tips in the comments below, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I love answering other travelers' questions if I can. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope I see you in Europe. Worked. And the unpredictable trajectory.